Welcome to the Develop Yourself podcast, where we teach you everything you need to land your first job as a software developer by developing yourself, developing your skills, your network, your habits, and more. I'm your host, Aaron Hayslip, and today we're going to be talking to Aaron Cordova. Aaron currently works at Coinbase as a senior engineer, so all things crypto, right? But before that, he worked at Facebook, and before that, he worked at a few other places, and before that, he was a boot camp grad, and before that, he was a rapper from Staton Island, I kid you not, who laid train tracks to support his wife and kids. I think this is probably one of the most interesting stories we've told in this podcast, and I think Aaron actually offers some of the best advice I've ever heard on landing your first job as a software engineer. So you are in for a real treat here with Aaron. Thank you so much, man, for taking the time to be on the podcast. I love that we both share a name, so I already feel some kinship there. For context for our listeners, I was just saying this, but I found you, I don't know you at all, but I found you through LinkedIn. You had an inspirational post about your own journey of becoming a software engineer. So we've interviewed a few coding bootcamp grads in the past. To be frank, they've all been from the schools I've started before.
Okay.
So this is great to get a perspective of someone else who came from, I believe it was General Assembly, right?
That's right.
Awesome. But man, give me the background. Tell the story. You've got time.
Okay. I'll try not to get bogged down in the details, but the background and the context is I was working for the city of New York. I worked for the MTA, right? So I literally laid train tracks in the tunnel. And side note, I used to be into urban exploration, trying to find the infamous mole people, and I used to explore a lot of abandoned places and whatnot. And so it was kind of nostalgic once I got the job at the MTA, because now I'm getting paid to be in the same tunnels that I was already going into.
Oh, that's funny. Is that like you were doing that as a kid?
I might have been, how old was I doing that? 18, 19, something around there.
That's awesome. I mean, it's already clear. I mean, you grew up different. I mean, I grew up, there were owls next to my house, you know, being a Texas boy, there were no mole people there.
Yeah, no, they were underground. And it was a cool underground scene. And so then I got the job, which allowed me to make big boy moves, right? Like finally I'm starting to get a little bit more responsible in life. And so I got a steady job. It comes with a pension, health benefits. So I eventually got married, had 2 kids. All the while, my whole deal was I'm only going to be in this job for like 2 years. I've been rapping since I'm like, I don't know, 16, 17, making beats in the studio. So I got the MTA job when I was 25, right around the same time I met my wife, which was fantastic, right? So everything was kind of clicking and enabled me, but I ended up being at that job for 10 years. And just so you know, I mean, to each his own. I get it. A city job, great, but I was around a lot of broken people, and I mean, like people who hate themselves, definitely hate their wife, definitely hate their kids. Everybody's cheating on each other, and I'm like, I love my wife, I love my kids. I can't wait to go home. I can do too quick overtime just not to go home. And I'm like, yeah, that's strange. So, but I was hoping that the doors would open for hip hop. Like that's another story. But that felt like my calling. Like I wanted to change the world. And I've been freestyling on the streets forever. I freestyle with Mos Def. I have a lot of fond memories of really, really cool things. And I really felt like that was like God's call on my life. I'm going to use my talent, my gift to impact this world. And you could check the rhyme. I mean, I still got all the hip hop online with freestylefam.com. Now one curse, but we were about the craft. It didn't happen. Long story short.
Yeah.
It never paid for itself. I had a great coming of age that I cut my teeth on the pavement. I've traveled to do it. I've performed in some really cool big places and whatnot. But but it never did anything that I could rely on it. You know what I'm saying? It's more like a glorified hobby, and you gotta do something. And sure enough, one of the dudes that I knew from rapping, this kid Lavoisier from Coney Island, street dude, like just rough. He's the one who introduced me to boot camps.
I love it.
He learned how to code, and I'm like, excuse me. So he was my inspiration. I had always had like flirted with tech, right? I was always in the studio, built my own computers, mixed, mastered. I loved all of that stuff. Along the way, as a starving artist, you gotta have a website, and so WordPress was my friend. I figured that out, but I could never code. Like, what is JavaScript? What is PHP? I kind of picked up HTML and CSS, and I got it. Like, these are things on the page, and you can change colors and stuff like that and whatnot, styles. But I was always reliant on like a plugin or just searching online for somebody who had a solution. I did my own Photoshop, my own flyers and stuff like that. So I at least had like somewhat tech skills, but this guy came from nothing, and he learned how to code straight up. And the defining moment was I knew that my time at the city, like, I was just becoming undone. In that, I don't know, I was just going to a dark place. There's always peaks and valleys in life. Which is fine. That's seasonal. Like, you can make it through the winter, but when it's sustained winter, so to speak, to me, that was indicative of let's have this conversation. So after talking with my buddy, educating myself about this, I made a very intentional, deep, introspective slice of my history where I prayed. I sought the counsel of the closest people to me, and I mean people who are like objective enough to tell me if I'm crazy or not, what my flaws are, what my strengths are. And I literally wrote things out on paper. Like, there's just something about seeing things in writing.
Like goals?
Not goals. I'm sorry. Pros and cons.
Okay. Yeah.
Did I do what my buddy did?
Yes.
Did I career transition? Now I'm 35. I'm 10 years in.
Yeah.
Do I have the quote unquote security of a city job? Health benefits and all this other stuff. I got 2 kids. My wife is a stay-at-home mom. We decided early on we wanted a homeschool, right? So anything that I do with the career, essentially, they're at the mercy of. Right? So I don't want to take this lightly. And I've been doing music for a long time, and that can really come off as chasing a dream.
Sure.
Which after a certain amount of time can look irresponsible, even if you don't mean it to be, right? So the last thing I need is to come off or actually be chasing after the next new shiny thing.
Sure.
But anyways, after that whole process, and I spoke with my wife, and I'll never forget it. That was like maybe a few week process of just mulling over that conversation, marinating it, like really just like poking holes at it, seeing what the risks are. And we were pretty heavy leaning towards this is go. Like, let's do it. But I remember one time early, it might have been like 5:15, I'm up and having my coffee, and I'm really thinking about it. And I was like, you know what? I'm kind of like having a one-on-one dialogue with God, But I was like, I've done it. I've checked every checkbox. We've had the conversation with my wife, but I'm going to ask her when she wakes up this morning, I'm going to ask her, if you knew there was no going back, there was no plan B, there's no point of return, would you still say I do it? And that's exactly what happened. She woke up early. Kids are still asleep. I have my coffee. I asked her the question, and her response was absolutely. So that solidified all these, that gave me the permission, so to speak, right?
Love it, man. I got a few questions because I want to get back to this. But it's like kind of backtracking a little bit. I guess a comment here. It's funny because I don't think I was as sold out on music as you've been. Probably because I didn't have the talent that you had. Maybe I'm the Texas boy version. We both have our hats, but mine's like the Texas boy version. What you got going on? I grew up playing like death metal, and so I thought that was going to be like my career. When I graduated high school, I was like, what do I need college for? I'm gonna be a rock star.
Right. Right.
And then so I think that's just funny that that's part of your story, from a different part of the world. What so you talk about being in that environment, working for the city, which I've had some tough jobs. I've had a lot of friends with some tougher jobs than I've had, and I get what you're talking about, right? The environment is a dark place, and it sounded like you knew at one point when you needed to get out. But what kept you up to that point from like going to that dark place? What kept you from being the kind of guy who hated his wife, hated his kids,
Right.
if that makes sense? Because I think that's probably part of your story here, right? I mean, and that's what we're trying to get at this podcast is like, what are the things about you that enabled you to be successful? So yeah, what kept you from that?
So to be as practical as possible, I had deeply held religious convictions. So the cliche answer is God, right?
Yeah.
But let's say for the part of your audience that, let's say they don't have a similar conviction or something like that. There's no magic fairy in the sky, right? So while I had my convictions, and to me I accredit it to like the grace of God.
Yeah.
But every human being is finite. Like you only have so much in the tank.
Yeah.
So God or not, like you're gonna run out of gas at some point, right? And so whatever folks find fills their tank, right? But mine was being drained. So what stopped me from going empty and then crossing over to be like everybody else? I think the combination of knowing yourself, right? I also had help. So this is not like something alone. My wife, who was very supportive, would tell me like, "You're not the same. You've changed." Right. So I had called that like maybe a signpost on this road.
Yeah.
Right. I had something telling me danger. But I think the biggest one would be a willingness to take risk, because if you just sit there and you're getting beat up by the rain, like you're at the mercy of the rain, right? So you got to be willing to put one foot in front of the other and get out of the rain, go somewhere, do something about it. And I tried to make it as calculated a risk as possible. Now I'm an adrenaline junkie. This is why I didn't mind jumping onto the tracks, you know what I'm saying, and running into the tunnel and possibly dodging the cops or whatever, which it never got me onto that. But even for an adrenaline junkie and somebody who likes risk, right? I was in hip hop. I was always in dangerous situations. I rapped in every friggin' ghetto, New York, South Bronx, Brownsville, East New York, Canarsie, like everywhere. You name Park Hill, I've been there. But that willingness to take a risk has to be matched with some sort of reasonable plan.
Yeah.
And that's why I weighed the pros and cons, and I investigated what is a boot camp. I educated myself. I looked at as many numbers as I could. What's the graduation rate? What's the money possibly look like? Like, let me map this plan out as best as I can. And then at some point you have to pull the trigger. And so I didn't stay in transit so that the darkness could just eat me up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I love that, man. And I think, on a personal note, like I'm cool with that being the answer. That, I mean, me too, like as far as like conviction from God was a huge part for me. And then I think, and I've always asked myself the same question, because my story is similar. I just got married. My wife was pregnant, and that's when I did a boot camp.
Wow.
But so I didn't have as much risk as you did, because my child was unborn. But
in many ways, that's even more stressful because you haven't even broken through. You have more unknowns.
Yeah, that's true. But I think for me, part of the risk was like I trust that, like, regardless of what happens, that I think like God could figure something out with this situation.
Sure.
All right, Aaron, if you don't mind me asking, what, like, so the time you and your wife were making that decision, because I remember that as well. Like, I went to her and just kind of like, it was less calculated than I think what you did. I just kind of threw out there. I was like, hey, there's like this coding boot camp thing. It's $10,000, whatever. And I thought she'd be like, oh, interesting. Like that would be that. Like, and I was going to leave it at that because I was I didn't have the confidence to like tell her this is what I wanted to do.
Right.
And then her response immediately was, yes, like you're doing that. And I was like, babe, I make $9 an hour right now. Where am I going to get $10,000 from? She's like,
Right.
a loan. I mean, I don't know. And thankfully she had good credit. I didn't have any. But yeah, what was that like? What was the financial investment for y'all? Like, how'd you calculate that? You're talking about all this right now. But what did it look like for y'all?
Yeah. So, and there's a little bit of that Texas, it comes out here.
Y'all, that's right. I do say y'all.
Yeah. So obviously the finances were the hugest thing. We were already in debt. The reason why we were in debt was because I hated the job so much. So I was like just going towards that dark side that I burned through all my sick time. I burned through all my vacation time, and I would still bang out sick, which meant I wasn't taking pay for the day. But I just half the time I just couldn't go. So it really was like an internal dark place, and then it had financial ramifications. So on top of that, we're swimming in debt, which just puts strains on every single human joint possible.
Yeah.
Debt finds a way. It's like water; it just goes everywhere. We had the house, and so we were going to refi. That's the short of it. So for me, I figured it's 3 months. The tuition was around 13 and change, just rounded up to 15. 15 for the expense in the school. And then I calculated 15 comfortably in order to make it through the 3-month period. So I'm looking at a $30,000 mountain to climb. And that might as well be Mount Everest to us.
Yeah.
So the short of it is we were going to refinance the house and basically take a loan against the house. It turned out that because I was going through with that at the last minute, so that would have gone through. That would have gone through, and that would have been the end of the story. And then, here we would have been. But my dad ended up, he saw it, and last minute he was like, "Okay, pause. Don't do that." Basically, he would be the bank.
Sweet.
And then I would just pay him back. So I essentially saved the interest because he saw that, whatever buttons that flipped in him, maybe he saw it was serious or whatever. He just didn't want like to unnecessarily throw money away. So I ended up getting help from a family member, my dad.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So I guess at that point, so your wife's doing homeschool with kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you start General Assembly. So this was in person. How far? Because you were how far away from the school?
Yeah. So Staten Island, where I lived, was at least an hour and 20 door to door.
Jeez.
Maybe an hour and a half each way.
Yeah,
it's New York City. So I had to take a bus, to a ferry, to a train. And that was not fun. And I did that in the winter. Like my cohort was in the winter going into the spring. So it was from February, March, April. I graduated in May.
Okay.
So yeah, I was a little ways.
And then whenever you finished, did you feel like top of your class? I mean, how did you feel in terms of confidence whenever you were walking out? You're like, all right, that's it. I mean, I'm done.
Yeah, this is something. Okay, so here is where perspective and mentality really, like, you cash in from this stuff.
Yeah.
I don't like psychological games. Let me just say this for like your audience. I don't like psychological games. I don't think that hyping yourself up provides any long-term value. It'll give you a sugar rush, like, the power of believing or any of this other BS.
Yeah.
But perspective and mentality paid off huge because of my focus. Listen to this. You could say I had a lot of motivation. I got 2 kids, a wife at home, essentially no plan B. So one perspective is my back is against the wall.
Yeah.
That's not necessarily how I saw it. I did feel like a lot is on the line. Don't get me wrong. I'm not an idiot. I'm not blind. But I refused to think, mull, or be consumed by any other thought other than learning.
Yeah.
I was here for a task and I wanted my money's worth. And I asked a bajillion questions and I was frustrated at times, like the peaks and valleys, and we could probably talk about that later, but the emotional roller coaster is real when you try to learn how to code. But it's amazing. But I was just focused on learning this craft, learning this tool that's going to empower me. I kept telling myself 5 years from now, I want to be able to look in the mirror and pat my friggin' self on the back and say, thank you. Thank you so much for suffering then. That's all. That's all. So I didn't care about confidence. I didn't care about if I felt prepared. I was just executing. I didn't have mental real estate to be concerned. I only had space to do. It was like a military operation. I can't worry if I'm scared of the enemy. I just have to pull this trigger and pop them before they pop me.
Yeah.
So that was a real mentality, and it worked. I had to put a lot of long hours in, but nonetheless, it worked.
How do you get to that spot? Because I see, I see some students are like that, right? And they usually feel like, regardless of their technical abilities or their raw talent, because, to be frank, some students come in and, I mean, they're going to kill it, right? And some have a harder climb ahead of them. But that mentality, it's either there or it isn't. I mean, how did you stoke that up?
Yeah. So let me try to be as objective as possible.
Yeah.
I was by no means on the low end of the class, right?
Cool.
And I don't want to chalk anything up to like natural abilities but I don't want to dismiss that either. Like I do think that people have certain bents in life, like they gravitate to some certain things. So I'm just making this up, but like math might just naturally be more interesting or come easier, however you want to word it. So I don't want to take that off the table, right? I already did have a little bit of experience, and I was excited to learn. Other people might not have that experience and may not have that excitement in the tank from day one. There's that, but there's nothing that I did that anybody else couldn't do. So where was I in my class? I was probably in the top 15%, 10%.
Cool.
But a lot of that was because of hustle.
Yeah.
A lot of that was because of focus. So I remember that there were people who fooled around, and I just can't believe that you're paying all this money.
Yeah.
What are you doing? But again, I did that in college, right? I never finished college. I tried 3 times and that was over. And so somebody, I guess, could say the same thing about them. So maybe you just need to be at a point in life where you're actually ready to own your craft.
Yeah.
But there were clearly people way smarter than me, and it was obvious. So I knew who the who's who was off the bat, and I used that. I went, and I mean, everybody was friendly, so it wasn't even anything funny, but I made sure I hitched my wagon to them, and I want to know, and what are you doing, and all of that, and I had a great support system. I made friends, but I put in long hours. But I think one advantage that I might have had was really because of the hip hop. My coming of age and my developing a sense of security and confidence in who I am as an individual did not come from the corporate world. That came from the streets.
Yeah.
And the more I think about it, I find that gold.
Yes.
I could imagine maybe somebody fresh out of college or somebody fresh out of high school. And you know what? I don't know what your experience is. Maybe you never had, you were never put in the fire, so to speak, to come out already solid. I was kind of already solid because of my religious walk and my physical walk on the street, right? I got in the ring that was meaningful to me. That ring was hip hop.
Yeah.
Battles, street face to face, like all of that stuff, competitions, going to clubs, like tearing them. I'd rap anywhere, anytime, name it. But that got all the impurities out of me, so to speak. The metal was pure. The metal was strong.
Yeah.
When I went in there, I wasn't looking towards doing a good job to give me a sense of self-worth confidence. I already came in with it.
Yeah.
So I think that would be an advantage. Whereas, and I completely sympathize, somebody who's doing a task wants to do well because it will give them a sense of worth and value. And you do get that, but I got that from the hip hop. So that was an advantage.
Man, I love that. I think that is like gold for people to hear because, so often folks assume that I'm BSing them when I tell them, hey, your background matters, right? Because they think, if you don't have a technical background, if you don't have a college background, if you don't have a math science background, I mean, whatever kind of thing you want to assume that you're supposed to have to do well in this. But the encouragement is always, hey, your background, regardless of what it is, has formed who you are right now.
100%.
And if it's a story like yours, I mean, who would think, right? Like that a background in hip hop would make
no idea the gold that all of those days rhyming on the street. If I could put it in a TLDR, it helped me crush interviews.
Yeah.
It helped me crush, like there was no competition. If I could just get in front of somebody, it's not because I'm the smartest. It's just because I'm already confident. I have no interest in you giving me a job. I have every interest in finding the right match. Like my mentality was, I'm going to do this whether you pay me or not. Like you don't validate what I do. So you're either going to see what I do is valuable or I'm just going to keep it moving. Now, nobody wants to just constantly keep it moving because you need your first job. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like, I went in there like I'm the Hulk or something, but I went in there without needing something. I mean, obviously I needed a job, but I didn't need validation. I didn't need your approval.
Yeah.
So in one sense, you're literally indestructible. And I got that from hip hop, being in front of people, being put on the spot, having freestyle. Dude, we used to go on the trains and be like, give me a word and I'll rhyme. I had a shirt that literally said, I spray painted it. Give me a word and I'll rhyme. I would go right up to people and start freestyling about what they're wearing. And it was very entertaining. People loved it. So being put on the spot and in front of people was just like, there is no big honcho in a chair that's intimidating. Like nobody's intimidating to me. Nothing. I'm not impressed by anything, which means I'm free to enjoy what people have to offer. I'm free to enjoy the good about people for what it's worth. So that background completely set me up for the people side, the non-coding stuff.
Yeah, that's beautiful. All right, so you graduate from General Assembly, and then what did your initial job search look like? Because I want to be able to compare. You've got a few jobs now in the bank of your resume. I want to be able to compare what your first job search was like to the one that came after. But what was the first one like?
Okay, so while we were at General Assembly, I just maximized what was put on the table for me. Other people did not. We took a class trip to a company called Razorfish. Razorfish was a pretty big like agency type deal. And it was great. It was just, they set up a panel of developers and managers, and we got to ask them questions and a day in the life of money. Everybody wanted a job, blah, blah, blah. But the recruiter for Razorfish, who was like our liaison to the company, while we were there, I got his business card. I schmoozed with the guy. I rubbed elbows, and I'm like, I want to keep in touch.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did. My last week of General Assembly, where I'm trying to finish my final project, I had an interview, and I was interviewing at Razorfish. So I was interviewing before I even got out of General Assembly, simply because I took advantage. I remember I sent the guy an email. I was like, listen, I'm graduating in like 2 weeks. I'm going to be on the market soon. What say we have a conversation? That was it. Like, I didn't do anything that nobody else could have done. Everybody else in the class was there. Like, everybody could have hit this guy up.
Yeah.
So what had happened was, graduation came, and I got the job, but they did not want to budge on the number. Now, so two things happened. Number one, they didn't want to budge, and then the guy I was talking to kind of disappeared. I think he went on vacation or something, and whoever they were supposed to leave in contact didn't. So there was this unforeseen delay, which of course it was like, no, oh no, I want the first job, right? So that elongated things for a couple of weeks. But what happened was they didn't want to budge from 65,000. I was already making that at the city, and part of me in the back of my head was, yeah, but I gotta at least get a little bit more. Like, just come up 5K, 2K. Like give me the mental excuse to say yes, and it'll be done. Now, truth be told, I would have taken it. But because the guy went on vacation and there was this unforeseen delay, right, for all intents and purposes, I had the job and everybody was happy for me. It was a nice celebration. You know, now we're graduated and we're keeping in touch and stuff, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, I can't drag my feet. And I remember in General Assembly in the career coaching class, they said, never send emails and resumes out on a Friday. They're going to land in some bin and you will be forgotten by Monday. And what did I do? I was panicking, and it's a Friday, but I didn't care. From sun up to sundown, I went online. I can't tell you how many, 50, 70, 100. I don't even know. But I kept an Excel spreadsheet. I made phone calls. I made emails. I sent out the resume. I wrote small blurbs of a cover letter. I didn't BS nobody. For me, anyway, I worded my cover letters like we were at the bar having a drink. Like, here's what I'm passionate about. This is what I'm up to. Gosh, like, I kept it 100% funky.
Dude, side note, like, everyone gets so wigged out by cover letters, and you go back to whatever that weird class in high school was where you built like this cover letter format, but it's like, it's not a formality. A cover letter is literally a letter to the person who could hire you, explaining like, hey, here's
who I am. This is what's up.
This is me. Yeah. And so I love that. Okay, keep going. Sorry.
So that's what I did. And I was obviously down because I'm calling Razorfish. I'm trying to email them. Hey, what's the update? I know so-and-so was away. I'm not getting any answers. And it looked like, I did so good. Like, wow, I was interviewing the last week. Everybody knew it. They were happy for me. Everybody's rooting for me. And I'm finally going to have that sense of peace, the satisfaction, the security. Like, I landed my first job. But because I hustled, so I actually hustled for a few days, but past that Friday, but it turned out that one of the emails that I sent got noticed by a recruiter at Accenture. So I got a call a few days later, like maybe, I don't know, a couple of days later. And so there is no rule of when you should or shouldn't. You should always just throw your seat everywhere. Like,
if it's called today.
Yes, everywhere. Just hustle. All of the above, especially for your first job. You just need one yes. He called me, and I was basically, long story short, I was able to pit both jobs against each other. And I went with Accenture, and I got the first job for 76.
Nice.
Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? You got $11,000 raise in like a week.
Just for going to the coffee shop and doing nothing but sun up to sundown online until my eyes and fingers were bleeding.
It's crazy, man. I love it. Okay, so then we'll kind of fast forward now because I think that process is so important for people to hear, right? A couple of things. I think one, a lot of times what we talk about at Parsity is students want to be able to take the easy route to the job search, and their version of hustle is clicking apply at 100 places, which whatever, but probably you're going to get rejected by cold applications. But what you did, like kind of taking every route, holding nothing back, just balls to the wall.
Yeah.
That's what you got to do,
I want to throw something else on there.
Yeah.
I never had a LinkedIn before. I didn't even know what LinkedIn was, right? And so, like, through the school, like, that's part of the career class or whatever. You set up your LinkedIn, and all of your friends in the class are your first connections. Right?
Yeah.
But from that day, so it was twofold. When I got the job, there was what I told you about, like, calls, emails, cover letters, resumes. But on LinkedIn, I went from no connections to over 1,100 connections in 1 week. 1 week. 1 week.
Dude.
I don't want to hear nothing about I can't find a job. What was I doing on LinkedIn? I was connecting I knew I wanted to do front end, right? So I was very nervous about the beginning of the boot camp. Oh, you could go in a million ways. Maybe I should do WordPress. That's what I kind of knew. Like maybe I'll learn how to code and I'll make my own WordPress plugins and all this jazz. Quickly found out what front end development was, back end development, full stack. I wanted to do front end like that. I resonated with that. Okay, cool. Because I had that focus, I online connected with every tech recruiter I could, every front end engineer I possibly could, some designers and some full stack. And my intention was I wanted to fill my timeline with the correct noise. I wanted to be in the right, zip code to be in the know. And it did work. Anybody and I had this interesting LinkedIn. Like if you click on somebody's profile, you can search by city, you can search by company. Let's just say I found one person, right? There's a list on the right of all the other suggested people who are probably other front end developers or related, and I would spider web out from there. I'd click that one, and for each one of those 5 people, they had another 5 suggestions, and that's how I grew the network as large as I could. And then I sent messages on LinkedIn. That's where I got some of the phone numbers. That's where I got some of the emails. So yeah, I wanted to add that to the whole hustling coffee shop and all of the above.
That's amazing. 0 to 1,100 in 1 week. Don't tell me you can't get a job.
A week. Yep.
Okay, so tell me about and then I know you've got quite a few different. We won't walk through them all, but tell me about the next job search. How did it look different whenever you were, leaving Accenture and going to do something else? What was that process like?
So here's a double-edged sword. In the beginning, I learned this in the city too. In the beginning, the hardest thing is to get your first job. I'll tell you that right now. The hardest thing I've done is just get my foot in the door. But once you have your foot in the door, now the ball's in your court. Depending on what you do with it, right? But in the beginning, it's so much easier to choose what to do once you're already in, because you'll take anything. You don't have much riding on the line. So like when I was in the city, when I first got the job, I would take any available position because I'm low in seniority. And so I don't have much to choose. So it makes it much easier. I'll take what I can get. The longer you're there and you say, I want to work in this location, maybe I want to work in Brooklyn because it's closer, but I'm making more of a hefty commitment because I can't change it for a while. And so like the more seniority you have, you might have first pick, but you kind of got to stick with it. Tech is a little bit similar. So after Accenture, I knew like not only am I learning and I'm getting paid to learn and I can't stop building things. Please, for your audience, if there's only one thing you take away, don't stop building things. It's literally the thing that rose my stock.
So like on the side?
On the side. I built the snake game in vanilla JavaScript. I built Tetris in vanilla JavaScript. I built stupid stuff like a function that can take that can randomize an array. Like I just wanted to learn. Look at all these methods. What is all of that stuff? What can I do with CSS? Let me build. I built my website. I built all sorts of crap. And you're learning. You can't manufacture that. Like you just can't manufacture it because I'm doing it on my time at my pace, and it sinks in. It sinks in as opposed to your job giving you a task. Anyway, that first year at Accenture, come to find out other people are making like 90, 92 and all of this other jazz. And I learned very quickly, you will get a bigger bump if you jump ship to a different company. I want to tell you, it is what it is. I won't tell you all the numbers, but because I jumped ship to another company, I went from 76 to 98. To give you a frame of reference, a girl who I worked with at Accenture, who had 4 years of college, was there almost a year before me, was making less than me starting. She was at 65, and when it came time for a raise, they gave her like a $6,000 or a $7,000 raise. I went from 76 to 98, almost 100. I didn't break the 6 figures, but I was making essentially $100,000. After 1 year experience.
It's crazy.
All because I was building stupid stuff on the side. I was fueling the passion. So the job hunt was a little bit easier then. It was just a matter of finding somebody, the right fit.
Yeah.
And because I had Accenture, your first job on the resume, it was easier to get looked at.
Yeah. Right.
And I got a bunch of no's. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's not like I wrote my own ticket, but I got a bunch of no's. But I found the next one, and I did that a couple of times in a row.
That's crazy, man. People oftentimes don't believe me that, like, whenever it comes to software engineering, like your raise is often, tens of thousands of dollars when you switch jobs. But I mean, it is unfortunate that is a fact, though. Like with most companies, that they're not going to see the value of, let's give Aaron $20,000 more. You're going to have to jump ship sometimes, which is hard. But man, okay. So fast forward though. I mean, you've worked at some pretty killer places, Bloomberg, Facebook. Now you're at Coinbase. Excuse me. Give me a quick word on Web3 and crypto. What are your
Dude, I'm just learning myself. But I will say that this is probably the first time. So Facebook, when I got that job, when I left Bloomberg, I thought Bloomberg, like the hopping and skipping and jumping, was over. Right? Yeah. Bloomberg was cool. I was doing straight up React, so I wasn't mad. But they got rid of that whole department that I was there. I don't mean they fired everybody. I mean they got rid of the business that the whole department revolved around. And I picked my head up and I looked around, and there wasn't much like React the way I wanted to do it. Everybody worked on the Bloomberg terminal. I'm like, oh, hell no. So I got a little nervous, and I said, I got a really good, like, nice salary. This is a prestigious company, a lot of brilliant people. If I'm leaving Bloomberg, then I'm going for the jugular, right? Yes. So there wasn't an industry specific. I said Amazon, Google, Facebook. Where else did I? And a buddy of mine worked at a hedge fund that they pay more money than God. So, but I didn't really want to be in like a suit and a tie all day.
Yeah.
In any case, so that's how I got Facebook. My focus was just the knee-jerk reaction, top tech companies. And I made it. All right, fantastic. By the way, I was so underwhelmed about Amazon. That kind of like, I didn't expect that. I would never work for Amazon. Not after that experience. But to each his own. So anyway, but at Facebook, coming to Coinbase, this was the first time in my career where I said, I want, like going back to your crypto and Web3.
Yeah.
First time in my career, like, I have choices. I got to work hard for it. Believe me, this round, I got a lot of no's. I applied to a couple of other companies. I got no's, dude. But if I had to go somewhere, where would I want to go? I want to be in the crypto space. I want to learn. I'm not a guru about Web 3.0 or crypto, blockchain, but I know enough to know I'm persuaded the cat's out of the bag. We're not going back. It was like when the iPhone came out. Smartphones never went back. We never went back. We only moved forward. So now that blockchain and crypto is here, we're never going backwards. I don't know exactly where it's going. Yeah. I think it's inevitable, this technology. But my understanding of like Web 3.0 is you're literally removing middlemen.
Yeah.
From whatever the interaction is. Definitely financial.
Yeah.
Blockchain, you don't need typical banks. You definitely don't need something like Western Union. We have a little bit nice here in the States where like you and I can walk down the street and go to like 10 different banks if we wanted. So the whole blockchain thing doesn't like necessarily enable a ton of stuff for us, but for other countries where you can't get a loan, you can't go to the bank.
Yeah.
Blockchain is the place to be. So Web 3.0, my understanding is you're removing the middleman from a lot of other things. And one thing I'm interested in is that free speech.
Yeah.
Social media companies. I know I worked at Facebook. Bro, I worked at Facebook in years. When I got the job, I'm like, oh my God, they're gonna find out I don't really use Facebook because like I hate Facebook. Like, the social media platform. I loved Facebook for the tech. They invented React. I worked with sweet people. It looked like a cruise ship that I worked on. Like I can't even tell you. 3 restaurants. I had swordfish. I had octopus. Like I don't know what to tell you. But in any case, yeah, that's. I'm happy to be at Coinbase to learn more Web 3.0 and blockchain. I'm a noob, but I don't want to be a noob. So
yeah, I love it, man. I love it that you jump ship for further development. Like you're just to learn, and you wanted to continue this process. Aaron, man, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Kind of as we close here. So for folks on the outside looking in, right, which is ideally our audience, they're on the outside looking in. They hear your story, are probably like, holy crap, this guy went working at Facebook, Coinbase, all these things. You're talking about $20,000 raises. Probably had a few of those, I would assume. What's like your advice? Like, what would be we've got tons of advice coming at you from different parts of your story, but what's kind of a parting piece of wisdom that you'd offer?
Yeah, well, there is no getting around what you sow is what you reap. I sowed a seed of investment in attending a boot camp, let's say, and that has continued to this day to just pay dividends, right? I'm at Coinbase because of what I did in those 12 weeks in the boot camp, right? So what you sow is what you reap. Another way of saying it is what you put in is what you're going to get out. If I could tell people on the technical level, you got to build stuff. You have to interact. I would highly recommend, it's probably the number one thing that I did was I fostered the interest outside of the 9 to 5.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend that. And for those starting out, I completely sympathize that I recognize the hardest thing to do is to get your foot in the door. But searching for a job for 6 months, like there's something wrong. There's something wrong. You don't have to level up on every skill and be perfect before you go do this and before you go do that. There's just too many companies out there. Like the numbers are in your favor. If you're decent at what you do, there's a lid for every pot. Like you just got to find it. It might be a very big haystack that you got to find the needle in, but just get the needle. Don't stop. All of the above, all day, every day. Get off the couch. Get off Netflix. Get off Call of Duty. Whatever you're doing, like just go after it until you finally get it, because the world is too small a place for you not to be getting paid. Like think about that. There's just too much money out there and too much opportunity for you not to be getting paid. You just got to go find it.
Love it, man. Lastly, anything you want to plug or promote as far as yourself or your own brand or anything like that?
Sure. So unfortunately, I'm doing this later on in my career. I wish I would have been telling my story and like learning in the open. But I'm definitely looking to do coaching specifically around this, so like the conversation we're having, helping people, snapping them out of the funk that they're in. And I'm looking to get more active on LinkedIn. So for absolutely reach out to me via LinkedIn. If you fit that description, like you're struggling to get into the game, etc. And even like coaching. I'm willing to do that too. I was doing that a lot, mentoring for General Assembly. I'd love to do that and start that up on the side as well.
Awesome. We'll put a link to your LinkedIn in the show notes for folks to find you. Aaron, thank you so much, man. I really do appreciate you giving the time. I mean, this was one of the greatest stories I've heard in a while. And your entire journey, I think, is one that folks should replicate. So, thanks, brother. Blessings to you and your family. Have a good rest of your Wednesday.
All right. You too, brother.
All right, that does it for this episode of the Develop Yourself podcast. To learn more about our online code school, Parsity, go to parsity.io. That's parsity.io. To get in contact with Aaron Cordova, see the show notes. We're going to have his LinkedIn profile linked in there, and you just reach out to him directly there.